With all that, I want to thank you all for showing up. This is always a special time when we have recognition, awards, and swearing in. Get our police department back up to full complement. You all serve us really well in police and fire, and I'm so proud of that component, and so well supported by this board. With that, I'll call the meeting to order on this Thursday, September 1st, 2022. The clerk can pick the time.
7:06.
Christy, if you would please call the meeting to order.
Trustee Kemper?
Here.
Trustee Prigi?
Here.
Trustee Husani?
Here.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Here.
And Trustee Porter?
Here.
Trustee Bancole is absent. We have a quorum established.
Thank you. If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. We have a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Hearing no changes. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
And Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Very good. We have presentations, and I will be coming up, swearing in police officers. Oh my goodness. Ivan Georgiev.
Yes, sir.
Daniel Hernandez. Michelle Montoya. Christina Petro. Hopefully.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's a very exciting night for the police department. Not only do we get to welcome 4 new police officers with a formal swearing-in ceremony, but we're also going to recognize one of our officers as well as a telecommunicator and some members of the fire department for a life-saving award. The crowd is huge. It's awesome to see you all here. Thanks so much for your support and being here. If I could get Officer Ivan Georgiev to step up, please.
Ivan joined our police department in May 30th, 2022. He is set to begin the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy on September 12th, 2022, with an expected graduation date of December 16th, 2022. Ivan most recently worked for DePaul University as a public safety officer since October 2021. Prior to this, he served as a police officer and investigator for 7 years in Bulgaria. You're a long way from home.
Yes, sir.
Ivan speaks Bulgarian and Macedonian frequently and understands some Serbian and Russian. Ivan is also very passionate about soccer. Wow. You're going to be a great credit to our department. If you would, please. Do you have family here?
No, sir.
Okay. Your right hand. Raise your right hand. There we go. I state your name.
Ivan Georgiev.
Do solemnly swear
Solemnly swear.
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I'll support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of police officer
the duties of office of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard. Congratulations. I would invite you to shake hands with the trustees. And maybe you can enlighten me. Cubs or Sox?
Cubs.
All right. All right, we got a winner.
Hey, we got
See-
plenty of
see
stocks.
what happens?
How much did he pay you to say that?
And Officer Daniel Hernandez, join us up here, please.
Daniel. Dan joined the police department. Oh, do you have family? Do you have
Yes,
family?
sir.
Oh,
If,
please
you
come
guys-
on up.
Yep, if you guys can come.
Yeah, come on. This is a celebration. We finally found a job for Dan.
That's okay. We have a big area.
Please join him.
Come on up.
All right, this is great. You got a big family.
You can
Yeah, no,
roll the
they're,
dice.
yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. I shouldn't have this much fun, but you know. Dan joined the police department in April 19, 2022. Dan began the Illinois State Police Academy on Sunday, April 24, 2022, and graduated from the academy on July 28, 2022. Dan is currently in field training and expected to be released to solo patrol in November. Are you up for that? Solo?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Dan most recently worked as a parking enforcement officer for the Elgin Police Department. He's also a member of the United States Marine Corps. There's a grunt in the board here. Where he has been in the reserve since July 2018. Dan holds an Associate of Arts degree from Elgin Community College. Dan is also fluent in Spanish. Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, sir.
And you have a family that hold the Bible? for
Yes, sir.
you? Raise your right hand. There you go. Raise your right hand. Okay, I already said that. I state your name.
I, Daniel Hernandez,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
And I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of police officer
the duties of the office of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome. You can bleed, make him bleed, you know. No, yeah, this- All right, let's get the family together for a photo.
Yep.
Okay? Okay.
Here, I'll keep you in the center.
All right. Guns all the way, all right. Even though you don't have family, let's get a photo.
Oh, yes.
I'm 22.
Wow.
Oop. Receive it.
All right. So just wait.
I don't look about it.
Thank you, Mom. Sir.
Congratulations, welcome.
Thank you, sir. That's the price, sir. Thank you.
Officer Michelle Montoya, please.
We're all here for Michelle,
Yes.
aren't we? Yes, how nice. Good evening, Michelle. Nice to have you with us. Michelle joined our police department in April of 2021 as a records clerk and worked there until May 30th, 2022, when she was hired as a police officer. She started the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy on June 20th, 2022, and expects to graduate from SLEA on September 23rd, 2022. From records clerk to police officer. But that's okay. Michelle holds a Bachelor of Arts in Criminology and Sociology from Dominican University. Michelle enjoys playing soccer and learning new things. Michelle is also fluent in Spanish. Nice to have you aboard. Congratulations. Oh, well, everybody say it. That's all good. Okay, what am I missing?
Your
We
paper.
got the Bible. Oh. Good thing I have police chief to keep me in order. I state your name.
I, Michelle Montoya,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of police officer
the duties of the office of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I know you will. Congratulations. You were gonna be a police officer? Oh, good, good.
Next.
Next. All right, we'll wait. Nice. Okay, the big question. Cubs or Sox?
Cubs, sir.
All right, all right. It's all good. We'll get our photo.
Oh, we're going.
south side. Oh, so you. Bye.
Good.
Congratulations.
I take it we have one more?
Welcome aboard.
And Officer Christina Petru, please come forward.
Christina, you have a nice family. They're all here for you. It's a beautiful thing. Oh, we got an officer in the house.
Yes, sir.
All right. Very good. Christina joined the police department on May 30th, 2022. She started the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy on June 20th, 2022, and expects to graduate from CELIA on September 23rd, 2022. Christina most recently worked as a community service officer, a CSO, at Palos Heights Police Department. I thought that's pretty good. Bringing the family up. I love it. Since May of 2021. Christina holds an associate degree in criminal justice from Moraine Valley Community College. My son-in-law heads up the library at Moraine. I'm sure he didn't have any influence on her. Okay, he's currently working toward a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and psychology at Lewis University. Christina's favorite sport is soccer. We're going to have a soccer team on the police department here. Very good. She'll hold the Bible, you hold her.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I state your name.
Christina Petru,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
I will faithfully discharge
I'll faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of police officer
the duties of the office of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard. Congratulations. We never sharpen these pens, you know. I knew it had to happen.
Congratulations, welcome.
As we pull together for a photo, I'd like to say that this board behind me supports our police department and our officers on the street every day. One of our goals is to assure you have the proper training, the proper equipment, and the skills to go home to your family at night. I say that every time I swear our officers in. We believe that, we support that, and because of their good work and skills and training, our crime is down 20% this last year. I'm proud of that. All right, we're gonna take it. I'll stand by the White Sox thing. Very good. Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, for this next recognition, this was a life-saving incident that required the coordination of both dispatch, police, and fire. And so I'd like to turn the mic over for some comments to Fire Chief Eric Force.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Forrest, Fire Chief. Tonight, like Chief Johnson said, a very unique opportunity for this recognition tonight. We have a telecommunicator from DUCOM, our dispatch center, a police officer, and firefighters. It is a true testament to the entire teamwork that we see every day that we work together, but also it represents an entire system of care that's needed, and I'm going to speak a little bit more about that. First, I'd like to call up those individuals to come and join us in the front for recognition. So we'll be needing DUCOM telecommunicator Kevin Zalga, police officer Santos Diaz, firefighter paramedics Nicholas Balestra, Matthew Barron, firefighter EMT John Kofink, Lieutenant Isidore Ordinario, and Battalion Chief Ryan Jasper. Also receiving a commendation due to this call but not able to be present with us tonight is firefighter paramedic Rick Ramirez.
Spread out. We have the whole row. There we go.
So first, when someone's heart actually stops beating, there's very specific steps that we need in order to be taken and realize a successful outcome. The AHA describes those steps using a metaphor known as the chain of survival. The chain of survival has 6 different links: recognition of the cardiac arrest and activation of the emergency response system, early CPR with an emphasis on chest compressions, rapid defibrillation, advanced resuscitation by emergency medical services and other healthcare providers, post-cardiac care, and then also recovery. So this strong chain of survival can only improve the chances of survival and recovery of victims of cardiac arrest. And these members before us were responsible for actually 4 of those total 6 chains of survival. So next, I'd like to first recognize that telecommunicator Kevin Zalga that's with us is also receiving an award from DUCOM, and tonight he'll be receiving a certificate of appreciation from the village and my Chief Johnson and myself. Next, we'd like to hear from Chief Johnson to describe the Police Department's award.
All right, I'm very excited to present a life-saving award tonight to Officer Santos Diaz, and I'll read the text of the certificate that he'll be receiving. On June 25th, 2022, Officer Santos Diaz was dispatched to the area of Barrington and Maple for a traffic crash for a vehicle that struck a tree and another vehicle. One of the drivers of the units involved was not conscious and not breathing. Officer Diaz arrived and found witnesses conducting CPR on the male driver. Officer Diaz quickly deployed his AED and was advised that a shock was needed. Officer Diaz applied a shock from the AED. Hanover Park Fire Department arrived on scene and took over the treatment for the male, and they indicated that several more AED shocks were required to treat the male. The male was transported to the hospital for further treatment and was later found to be conscious and breathing. Hospital staff advised that Officer advised Officer Diaz that if it had not been for his quick application of the AED, the male's health outcome may have been much different. Officer Diaz is being recognized for his quick thinking and life-saving efforts that led to the male driver surviving his medical emergency.
So next, we're going to hear about the fire department awards, and a lot of what you just heard from Chief Johnston is maybe a little bit repeated, but this is going to be for the Heart Saver citation awarded from the fire department. So on June 25th, 2022, Battalion 15, Squad 15, and Medic 15 were dispatched to 6768 Barrington Road in Hanover Park for the motor vehicle accident. A witness reported to their telecommunicator at DUCOM, Kevin, that the driver was unresponsive and not breathing. Within 4 minutes of that 911 call, the caller removed the driver from the vehicle and, with instructions from Kevin, started chest compressions. Officer Santos Diaz then arrived shortly on the scene afterwards and deployed his AED, attaching the defibrillator pads to the patient's chest. As members from Medic 15 and Squad 15 arrived at the location of the patient, Officer Diaz's AED notified him that a shock was advised. Officer Diaz administered the first shock, and then EMS and fire crews resumed chest compressions and further patient care. Officer Diaz assisted the crews by moving the patient to Medic 15, where they continued the resuscitative efforts. And 8 minutes after the start of the bystander CPR, the crew noted that the patient started to have a strong carotid pulse and was attempted to breathe on his own. 14 minutes after the start of bystander CPR, it was reported that the patient had gained consciousness and was in fact talking with the crew. A total of 30 minutes after the initial 911 call, the patient was reported awake and alert and had returned to spontaneous circulation. The patient was then transported, administered to a local hospital, and then the patient was discharged July 1st to a rehab facility. So our Heart Saver Commendation citation reads as follows. The Heart Saver citation is awarded for the direct action at an emergency medical incident while acting with a company or group that demonstrated a high standard of performance. The actions led not only to the successful resuscitation of the patient in cardiac arrest, but also contributed to the successful recovery and discharge from the hospital to a rehab facility or returning to their home of residence. So tonight, our officers of the fire department will be receiving a ribbon that they will wear on their Class A uniform. And I'm happy to say that tonight, firefighter paramedic Barron will be receiving a star, which accommodates his second award of the Heart Saver citation. So please, you could join with me to show them some congratulations with a round of applause. And then finally, we'd like to have some comments from the mayor.
I figure I probably said enough already. But this village is very involved and actively with DUCOM. I spent half a day there, whether you know it or not, interviewing a replacement executive director. 5 of us put a lot of time into that, tough questions, and I believe our successor will be coming forth when we work out all the intricacies of hiring process. But I feel real good about the future of DUCOM. I feel real good of the future of our telecommunicators. We're going to take that to a whole nother level. I think they're going to be proud to come to work, and the future looks really bright. As for Officer Diaz, you will find ways always to solve the problem, and you're an exceptional officer, and I'm pleased to see you in the department. And to our firefighters, day in and day out, I sleep well knowing you're on duty. I don't know if I could say more than that. I went and reviewed the kitchen. I think we're going to put some money in that kitchen, okay? It's a little overdue. When did I build that building? 95? 2005, somewhere around there. I've been around that long, so, you know, now we got to put a little money in the kitchen. But anyway, gentlemen, thank you very much. And to all our officers, paramedics, all of you, thank you very much. You serve our village nicely. I'm not going to ask you who your team is. I do that with our rookies. Okay? But if you would, please, shake hands with the board. Let's get a photo together before you do. Chiefs? You too. We got a crowd in here. Thank you, we're very good. Please meet our board. Say hi. Want to stay down here? Thank you. It's next on my agenda.
Hey, Chief, congratulations, you and the team. How you doing? Congratulations. 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 Good job, well done. Congratulations. My man. All right, take care, congratulations.
Let her know who has my bag.
Very good. We are truly blessed in Hanover Park with the quality of the personnel stood before you tonight, even our rookies. It's all great. I shouldn't, this is my chance to have some fun with you all. So I have a proclamation, whereas, who am I presenting these to? I'm just reading them? I'm going to go take a seat. Pardon me? I'm just reading them. Okay. Very good. Oh. So I have, whereas the Village of Hanover Park is pleased to join the nation in honoring many Americans of Hispanic descent who have made outstanding contributions to our village, state, and country as we celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month. And whereas the diverse backgrounds of the Hispanic American community, its dedication to faith and family, its strong belief in the American dream, along with its rich cultural traditions, have made a remarkable impact on our society. And whereas we also recognize the positive impact that Hispanic Americans have had upon the political, social, and economic development of our community, and honor the achievements people of Hispanic descent have had in all areas of endeavor, including public service, business and industry, science, technology, education, sports, and the arts. Whereas Hispanic Americans continue to demonstrate tremendous perseverance that has enabled them to realize many accomplishments and find continued success through their hard work and dedication. And whereas as a result of this love and dedication to our community, Hispanic Americans have made our village, state, and nation a better place for people of all cultural backgrounds. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Rodney S. Gray, President of the Village of Hanover Park, do hereby proclaim the month of September 15th, 2022 through October 15th, 2022 as Hispanic Heritage Month in the Village of Hanover Park, and I extend our appreciation to members of our Hispanic community during this special observance. Thank you all. Diaz, I should give this to you, right? We walk the talk in Hanover Park, and Diaz, I like to pick on him, but he's an exceptional young man. Isn't it nice to be called young? Yeah. Whereas on September 11, 2001, the American people endured the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil in the nation's history with courage and heroism. And whereas in response to this tragedy, Americans across the country came together in a remarkable spirit of patriotism and unity and carried out countless acts of kindness, generosity, and compassion. And whereas community organizations and family members of 9/11 victims began observing the anniversary of September 11th as a charitable service day to honor the memory of those who were lost and those who united in response to the tragedy, including first responders and volunteers. And whereas the Service America Act, approved by Congress and enacted into law on April 21st, 2009, directed September 11th to be observed and recognized as an annual National Day of Service and Remembrance. Now therefore I, Rodney Craig, President of the Village of Hanover Park, proclaim September 11th as a day of service and remembrance in the Village of Hanover Park, and call upon the people of Hanover Park to honor the lives of those lost through participation in community service and remembrance ceremonies on this day throughout the year. I was personally pretty involved following these attacks. I was working for the FAA at the time. I was on the first flight out of O'Hare to assist the administrator of the FAA, where I sat for 6 months, listened to the continuous sirens, saw the devastation at the Pentagon, but the dedication of everyone that I ran into was focused on recovery and remembrance of those that were lost. And proclamation, whereas the Village of Hanover Park is committed to increasing public awareness about emergency management preparedness, and whereas September is deemed National Preparedness Month as part of the READY campaign sponsored by the Department of Homeland Security, which is to increase public awareness about emergency preparedness. And whereas the 2022 theme, A Lasting Legacy, the life you built is worth protecting. Prepare for disasters to create a lasting legacy for you and your family. And whereas the READY campaign is designed to educate and empower Americans to prepare and respond to emergencies, including natural disasters, potential terrorist attacks. The goal of the campaign is to get the public involved and ultimately to increase the level of basic preparedness across the nation. Now therefore I, Rodney S. Craig, President of the Village of Hanover Park, call upon the citizens of the Village of Hanover Park to observe September 2022 as National Preparedness Month in the Village of Hanover Park. I encourage all residents to educate themselves and take steps to prepare themselves in the case of an emergency. And to our new recruits, new officers tonight, you are stepping forward to help us prepare and stay alert and wise in our community. Thank you all for enduring all this reading. But welcome aboard to our new officers and to all our officers. Have a good evening. Very good. We're going to take just a couple minutes. I know you don't want to sit through the rest of our meeting, so you're welcome to have your family take you to a marvelous dinner. One person. Well, Tom, now you have a choice of chairs.
Tom, don't sit, you're coming up in a second.
Oh, not that one.
Okay. With that, now that Tom has found a seat, he is signed in for Town Hall. And he has a request of the board. Pardon me? You what? Yeah, you want to
Tom, come on up. Turn it. Yes.
Watch me, I'll spill everything on the rug.
Yeah, clean up after the mayor.
Yeah. Hello, hello? Am I in? Okay. All right, thank you. I'll start just simply by saying my name is Tom Clark, and my address is written down for the clerk's record. I'm a resident of this village and a member of the Development Commission, but it should be known that for tonight I speak strictly for myself, and that any reference or any references of village or committee business should already be in the public domain. And that said, Honorable Mayor, trustees, Madam Clerk, and staff, item 7A5 or 7 Alpha 5 on the agenda tonight, in my opinion, significantly relaxes zoning requirements for recreational cannabis facilities within village limits. And given what I believe to be its potential for changing the village's image, I respectfully ask that item 7A5 be removed from the consent agenda and be decided upon individual voice vote. And this then concludes my remarks, and I do thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom. Tom, would you like to speak when the item comes up, if we do remove it from consent?
I made let me see, I made remarks a couple weeks ago at the workshop, and I think most people were here. And that being said, the scope of the remarks wouldn't change that much unless you have questions for me. I mean, I'm certainly.
Well, they may.
Okay.
So we'll see.
I won't instigate anything, but I'll make myself available for comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay. So, thank you. My report, I've been very busy. I didn't have time today to make myself some notes to speak to it. My day started at 8 o'clock in Oak Brook with the DuPage mayor and managers. There was extensive discussion there concerning mayor signing off on a letter that would go to legislators in the state and the feds concerning gun issue. And that was thoroughly discussed, and it went back to the legislative committee, where they're going to review and see if there's a consensus among that board to sign off, ask the mayors to sign off. I then went to DUCOM, where I had more hours there with the final interviews of our next executive director. I think we're going to hit a home run with our choice. I can't speak to who it is or her background. I guess I gave something away there. But I'm looking forward to that individual stepping in and making a difference for our community. One of the big issues for DUCOM is the cost of the ETSB. The dollars that go into ETSB take away dollars that can be shared with the municipalities. And we're not here to support ETSB that could survive with one person, and those dollars that are going into this large staff are being taken out of that revenue.
Mayor, what is EPSB?
The ETSB, the Chief, help me out here. ETSB, it's the Emergency Telephone Communication System.
Thank you.
I got stuck there, but so we have some work to do shortly, and the deployment of the radios, they've been sitting on them for how long, Chief? 6 months anyway? Yeah, too long. We do have resources within DUCOM to take care of the repair and whatnot. So I'm very interested in DUCOM maintaining that. I think our turnaround time is improved instead of going out to a contract. So there's some issues there, but I'll be working those with our two chiefs. And I know they're aware of it, and we're in sync on that. But I thought I'd bring that to your attention. I then came back for almost the end of a roundtable concerning our friends on the railroad. I don't want to say a whole lot about that, but our approach on September 12th, I'll be speaking as our position with the concerns of the expansion of freight traffic for the STB. And then on the 27th, 28th, that Tuesday, Wednesday, it appears I'll be flying to DC to speak before the the STB, the system, the Service Transportation Board. So I'm looking forward to that. It wasn't in my, I was supposed to be doing other things that week, but I have an obligation to go. And hopefully they don't change the dates on us, because that's all I could figure out. So that is the, Juliana, that Tuesday, Wednesday, 27th, 28th, is it? Those two dates. But anyway, about that. Then came here and sat in on a little bit of that round table. And then we had our two meetings tonight. I think my wife probably think I fell in today. So with that, I move for move to approve by omnibus vote items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
I want to remove
Yeah.
7A5 from the consent.
Do we have a second to remove that?
Second.
Okay. With that,
I'm sorry, can we also remove 72? I just have a question.
you started reading it, 7A2 and
Yeah.
7A5?
Yes.
With that,
So the items on the consent agenda will be 7A1, 7A3, 7A4, and 7A6.
Christie, call the vote.
Trustee Gutierrez, you're removing 2.
72.
Thank you. Okay, sorry.
That's- You know, I know we've had the discussion of it. Can we also take 7A6 out? I'd just like to have some explanation on the scope of the project, 7A6.
Oh, sure.
So the items on the consent agenda are 7A1, 7A3, and 7A4.
Very good.
Sorry, just wanna make sure.
Okay.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Great.
7A.
Very good. 7A2, motion to approve the proposal from HR Green, Inc. for engineering construction services for assistance on fall construction projects in the amount not to exceed $105,518 and authorize village manager to execute the necessary documents.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Would someone like to explain that?
I just have a question. I do. So I understand that this will, it's, you know, you have the funding for this, and it's necessary given that 2 critical staff members have left. So this fall project, and you're actively recruiting, right? So what happens if we do hire during this time?
This is an hourly rate, so,
Okay.
it would depend on what, you know, there'll be time to, for the new staff members to get up to speed. We're in the, thick of our fall projects. John is here, he can speak in more detail about specifically what they're going to be doing, but my understanding is this contract is for the individuals who will be
For now, so it's not a contract and for the whole project until completion. So it's until we get someone
That's correct.
that
It's
can walk with them.
it's basically, we did an estimate of how many hours we think might be needed, and based on the pay rate, we said it looks like it's going to be maxed out hopefully maxed out. Hopefully we don't get anywhere close to that and we can hire people quickly, but
Yes.
105,000 was the top end. So if we can get people on board, hired, and taking over the roles that we lost, we won't use up all this money.
Okay, and then, I guess this is to Barry, how are we doing with that? Are we,
Missed that.
we're recruiting members for these two members that we lost of the team? We're recruiting?
I can continue talking about
Yeah.
it. I've been reading, I've been checking every day to see who's been applying. For the engineering technician position, we did have a couple applicants, and we're trying to set up some interviews.
Okay.
The assistant village engineer position, we haven't gotten very far with that, just due to lack of applicants and quality applicants.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
And Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7A5, move to pass an ordinance amending section 2.3, definitions, and sections 5.8.3 and sections 5.93 of chapter 110 of the Hanover Park Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, all concerning adult use recreational cannabis business. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
So, first I want to apologize. I wasn't here for the workshop, and that's the day I took my son for the college, and I missed it. And I'm a liaison for Development Commission, and I don't know the reason why the decision was made contrary to what Development Commission proposed. What was the discussion? If there anything that I need to know as to why it was different than what the Development Commission has talked about? While I was there at the Development Commission meeting, it was a majority of the votes of a standalone building, and it was decision was made differently. I just want to kind of know first as to why the decision was. What was the discussions? Is there something that I missed?
I think Trustee Porter and I touched on that during the workshop, and a lot of the other municipalities, have them in plazas with other stores. There is, because there's no, it's not agricultural, so no ventilation is required. We don't have to worry about the smell of anything encroaching into other attached units. And that was, I think, the original concern of a standalone, but because it's not an agricultural, it's just a distribution store, that we felt it was good to go ahead and allow it in the plazas and not just a standalone building.
And further, as we've been able to monitor what's been happening in other communities, from our observation and from discussion with officials in other villages, we haven't been able to determine any adverse impact on the economic viability of any of those strip centers or the areas where they're located. There hasn't been any negative impact on those malls or the shopping centers where they're located. When we first proposed the standalone buildings, that was a concern, but I think the reality of the situation as it, has emerged upon us has shown that those concerns were maybe not misplaced, but have not come to fruition.
I just wanted to kind of hear it out because the Development Commission had a completely different opinion about this and how they voted. And, I think on one hand, we want to limit how many cigarette shops we have in Village of Hanover Park, and then the other hand, we want recreation and marijuana and everything else. So I disagree with it, but.
But we still have it limited to one per
Yes.
town, section of town, so.
Yes, but it's just the limitations of it and everything else as to what was discussed and Development Commission has changed. I don't know, I'm not convinced by just this conversation here, what was presented, but that would be only my one vote. It is what it is.
So, the next step, we pass this, I presume. Then we're going to be approached by those in the business somehow. Do we have a vetting process to go through that?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Because the mayor gets the phone calls, get me in the door, you know. So we have a process? Okay. I would like, maybe the board would like to hear it too. What is our process? It seems like Alex is ready to go.
Well, it's just our regular special use process that we go through for businesses in town, but if you would like to.
Yes, so this is the same as any other type of special use process. Somebody has the right to come before the Development Commission and ask for a recommendation on a special use, and they make a recommendation to the board. It's not like licensing where we have a sort of discretionary control over it. If they meet the standards of review, if they meet all the conditions, the Development Commission will make a recommendation accordingly. Of course, landlords have the right to decide who they wish to lend to and so on and so forth, but of course, also, any applicant likes to know that the board would be receptive. So as they talk with all of you, there will be surely some level of communication there.
Okay, so I suppose they'll come to Development Commission or to the
You can forward any questions that you may receive to the Community Development Department and they will guide you through the process.
okay.
Right. And if I remember, in our discussion, I believe the state is going to be turning the regulation of the facilities to the Municipal Liquor Commission.
Where is the provision
To me?
Yes.
Oh, brother. Okay. Alrighty. I look forward to our process being equitable and fair, as most other things we do. I have 2 trustees that sit on that commission, and they will keep me out of trouble, right?
To the best of our ability.
To the best of their ability. Okay. All right. Tom, any question?
No further questions unless someone has more questions for me.
No. I know you spoke to us before the whatever we had, that workshop. And I don't recall. Were you at that workshop? So you missed.
But I was on the Development Commission itself, so I heard firsthand at the meeting.
And I understand your position.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to run the development meeting here, but Trustee Sonny, I appreciate and that's there is a difference. You pointed that out. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very nice. We do appreciate him too. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Brigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
No.
Did you
Ayes
call
have it.
Lisa? Did you call Lisa?
Motion carries.
I called you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Lisa's
mi-
first.
Did you get called?
Yeah.
I met. Oh, you were the first one, okay. Let me see, where am I? 786,
75.
didn't I
No,
just do that?
75.
Oh, 6, that's right.
Okay. 786, move to pass a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with Cook County for the financial assistance for pedestrian and bicycle improvements to Church and Walnut Avenues under the county's 2022 Invest in Cook County program.
So moved.
Second.
We motion a second. Somebody have a question?
I just wanted to just be able to formally take the time to thank the Public Works Department and the administration for putting this funding together and for advancing this project. I've long been a proponent of expanding and improving our walkways and our bicycle projects, and our street lanes. And I think this is a really good step to achieve that. And even though it was on the consent agenda, I didn't have any questions because I did understand the scope of the project, but I just wanted to formally thank the Public Works Department for their work on this and for putting this together. I think it's a good first step toward creating the kind of pedestrian and bicycle-friendly community that we all envision Hanover Park to be.
Very good. Anyone else? It was always pleasing to see these grants come our way. 7A.
Can I take a roll?
Oh, yes, you may. Chrissy, take the roll.
Trustee Gutierrez? Yes. Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. 77, motion to waive competitive bidding and approve a contract with ADM Demolition to provide building demolition services for the structures located at 1636 Sycamore, 2090 Elm, and 2020 Devon in the amount of $51,900. Further, authorize the village manager to expend a contingency amount up to $5,000 for a total of $56,900 to cover any unforeseen issues, and authorize the village manager to execute the necessary documents. A 2/3 vote of the corporate authorities is required.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we know any of the history of 2020 Devon? Do we know the history of 2020 Devon?
Juliana emailed me earlier this morning, and I sent my response and then promptly forgot what I said. It has been vacant for many, many years, since I want to say 2000, 2007, give or take. There have been various stores there, and before I give you an answer, let me look for what it is.
When was that building built?
I
How long
think
has
it was
been?
built in around the 1950s. It's a little hard to find some of these records that go back that far. It's easy to find records if it's in New World, our ERP software right now, because I can find the licensing. If you go back before that, you have to dig in the paper records out in the clerk's office, which I didn't want to bug Christy and Tish on the last minute for that. And then going back even further than that, you sometimes have to dig around in the basement here to try to figure out when some of the building records were. And things have shifted between departments. It can sometimes be a little bit difficult, but it's my understanding it is a legacy of what was the old downtown of Hanover, or old Ontarioville, probably before the village was incorporated. But I don't multitask very well, so give me just a second to search for this.
All right, while you're searching for that, go ahead.
It's my understanding that the property, the owner, passed away.
Yeah.
And, the family was not interested in continuing it, so,
So it'll come eventually under our ownership of the village?
there's a process for each of these, properties once the demolition is completed, and, we're working with, attorney Tony Pascal on that process.
All right, so,
It is our understanding is not a historic building.
it's part of the legacy of the original Ontarioville?
I'm not sure if I'd say it's part of the original legacy. It's old. A lot of these buildings, it's a difficult situation because if the owner doesn't want to maintain them, the village would then either have to purchase it and expend all of the funds to bring it up to code and so on and so forth. Or, I mean, you can try to ticket someone, but effectively if the cost of improvement is more than the building is actually worth, you can kind of just end up piling on tickets and nothing ever ends up happening. It's my understanding that right now there's no roof on the building, there's a massive hole in it, it's not structurally sound, it's not usable in its current form. You can see it from the road, but other
It's
than...
been abandoned since '07, right?
Give or take, it's been abandoned for a very long time and it's not structurally sound at the moment. We're not demolishing it simply because we don't want it there. We're demolishing it because of a condemnation suit. It has so many code problems to it, and that's something you can speak to more than I can, but it has so many building code safety violations to it that we do not believe it is something which can safely remain in its current form. And actually, Bernie, were you involved in the suit for that? I'm not, that's a different department than mine, so I'm kind of speaking out of turn. Okay.
No,
So,
it's one of the older buildings, it's really, I have no.
so, and it's, to me, it's, you know, it's gonna fall down soon. But I think that, you know, speaking with the historic committee, we've got nothing left. And so I think that the historic committee, and I'll talk about that during my little spiel, that we like to know when these are coming down and who's owning them and what's happening with them, whatever's left that's old in our area, before, especially because that's Devon, that's our area of interest. So, but thank you for your information, Alex.
2001 was when it was last occupied.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Good check.
The building on Sycamore, when is that scheduled for demolition, or is there a timetable for that?
My understanding is as soon as all the documents are signed, the contractor starts.
Okay.
We're gonna use that for a training?
I've been told that it will only take a couple of days to get all the way down.
We'll all be excited to see these.
Was there any talk of including that property on Center Avenue in this type of action?
These are the three that are at this point. We've been waiting that for all three to be ready to demolish at the same time for economies of scale in one contract.
Okay.
The one in Center across from Ontarioville School?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of these. That's on Elm.
The Elm
is that
address.
Elm? Is that actually Elm?
Yes.
Is that the address? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
Very good. Any other questions, anyone? With that, 2/3 vote of the corporate authorities. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Mayor Craig?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
7A8, move to approve the waiver of costs for services rendered associated with the St. Ansgar Church special event to be held September 17th in the amount not to exceed $2,226.02.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. Hearing none. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
And Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Thank you. 7A9, motion to waive competitive bidding and establish a purchase order to Communications Direct for the purchase of 13 mobile radios, base repeater, and associated equipment in the amount not to exceed $22,687, and authorize village manager to execute the necessary documents. Again, a 2/3 vote of the corporate authorities is required.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Craig?
Yes. 7A10, well, you guys got me working hard here today. Move to waive competitive bidding and approve the purchase of 42 desktop computers from Dell Inc. in the amount of $48,452.74. Again, a 2/3 vote of the corporate authorities is required. Questions? Oh, we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Mayor Craig?
Yes. Jed can breathe again. Oh, my goodness. 7A11, move to approve warrant 9/1/2022 in the amount of $355,265.93.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the warrant. Hearing none. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Thank you. 7A12, move to approve warrant paid in advance 8/12/2022 through 8/26/2022 in the amount of $1,154,959.41.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee
Yes.
Frigie?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Very good. 7/8/13, move to approve July 2022 P cards in the amount of $28,909.82.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Frigie?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Thank you. Village manager's report.
No report, Mayor. Other than the monthly treasurer's report for July, if you have any questions.
Direct them at Remy. Remy's still holding on to my 2 cents. Very good. Hearing none, village clerk's report.
Just thank you for everybody that came out for the car show this past Sunday for our rain date. The Alive Center made just over $1,300. So that was really exciting for the rain date reschedule. We had about 75 cars there, a little down from last year, but overall it went really well, and we're looking forward to our Clerks and Crafts event coming up on September 17th. That's all.
Very good. Do we have everybody on board for Clerks and Crafts?
Yes.
Good. Tap House Grill, sign up? Do you want them?
We'll take that off.
We'll talk later. Okay, where the heck are we? Corporation Council report?
No report, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Kemper?
I just want to wish everybody a safe and a joyful Labor Day weekend. Weather's going to be fantastic. I don't know about outside the area, but we're going to have good weather in the area. And I'd like to wish Trustee Porter a safe and eventful vacation to South Africa.
Oh, thank you. When are you leaving?
On the 11th.
I thought it was this.
No.
I can't keep up with
Flew
it.
by.
Oh, wish you well. Trustee, well, not here. Trustee Prickey?
I was gonna say, everybody have a good holiday this weekend, enjoy the 3-day weekend, and, take it from there.
Excellent.
Thank you. Trustee Husan?
Yes. There was a Hanover Park Community Bash last Saturday that was organized by Hanover Park Foundation and Interfaith Hanover Park Committee. And it was really, really good attempt. And it was less traffic, but I wish there was more people there and more participation. But the businesses that were there were many new connections that I have made, and there were B2B for sure. It was strong presence. So I wish they did a little bit more marketing, but had a conversation with the committee as well. But that's it for my report.
Thank you. Trustee Gutierrez?
All right, so I'm going to ask you for patience and to bear with me, okay? First of all, thank you, Commissioner Laura, for, she was so invested in this meeting today, and she's doing such good work with the Park District, and they all are. And so I just want to thank the Park District for meeting with us today. I think it's the beginning of a good relationship, and I'm excited to see what we can come up with. I was not at the last board meeting, but I was able to view you all online through the magic of YouTube. And so I wasn't here for the presentation, but I certainly listened in with this gun ordinance. And so I just wanted to get this stuff out of my head and share it with you. We obviously have a lot to learn about this, but at its core, we know that it's to do well for our residents in our neighboring towns. I'm reminded of Kennedy's inaugural address when it comes to this, because he said, "So let us begin anew, remembering on both sides that civility is not a sign of weakness, and sincerity is always subject to proof. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate, and let us both sides explore what problems unite us instead of belaboring those problems which divide us. So if you know me, you know that I lead with heart and with evidence and with evidence and more evidence, experience in my education. And with that in mind, I want to make it clear that the threats, especially anonymous ones, sent to my email or to those of my fellow board members, don't serve any purpose as they are not constructive or offer evidence. What does help is hearing those stories and the reasoning. And with that, I want to really thank all of the Hanover Park residents and the gun range owner, because they did just that. They came forth and they spoke, and I appreciate that. But being away from the board for the last couple of weeks helped me to put things in my own personal perspective as I looked at what can I bring to this whole issue. And thinking about that Kennedy quote, it says to explore the problems that unite us. And so that's what I'm looking at. And doing so, I remind us that when we started the discussion on this issue, we mentioned that we would look at this from multiple views and approach it in multiple ways. We requested to see and learn, to explore and touch and learn about an ordinance and what would that look like, and that has been done. Someone mentioned a referendum, and others have mentioned speaking to our state government, and I know several have done so. And so looking at that, I was thinking, what can I bring to the table? Well, in grad school, I was a researcher working with the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, and I know what research means. And so I know that the United States Department of Justice has the National Justice Institute, so I started there, and they just said what we already know in criminology and psychology, that early childhood trauma and exposure to violence at a young age, an identifiable crisis married to a validation of their system beliefs, and the means to carry an attack creates a mass shooter, right? And so this framework is really complex, but it also gives us a map for small cities like ours to have an opportunity to intervene. Because if we can reduce certain things like access to firearms and slow the contagious misinformation on social media and do the crisis trading and increase affordable mental health care trauma, we can possibly avert another shooting incident. And this is the National Institute of Justice. So before I go on, I just want to say that and be very clear, because I did hear this at the board meeting by a resident. Behavioral health illness does not necessarily make a mass shooter. The larger majority of people living with these illnesses are not violent. And so I aim to destigmatize behavioral health and bring it to the table and at the forefront. So I propose that we look at how we're funding behavioral health services in our area, or rather bring attention to the fact that we don't have behavioral health resources in our area that are affordable or within reach. We have the opportunity to address this issue, number 4 of those points, okay? Right here in our town, and possibly stop a future incident by increasing access to affordable mental health. Of course, this is just one point, and no point alone or no part of this framework will suffice. It's very complex, but it's a start. So while we do fund certain programs in our area, access to a clinician, a psychiatrist, or even a psychologist is not existing in most of our town. For those with good insurance, there are wait lists. For those with state-sponsored insurance plans, there are no services. Simply put, psychiatrists, psychologists, and licensed clinicians don't accept Medicaid. So families have to travel outside of our area and are put on months' wait list to simply decide to give up on behavioral health. So what I'm asking is to start an initiative where we start looking at the funding of our nonprofits that we do every year through our strategic plan, but not just to bring forth feel-good activities for youth, thinking about how we got rid of the youth commission, not just fun after-school activities. I'm talking about licensed therapists within their reach after school, as a drop-in, so that our youths have a resource outside of their school, because when school is not in session, they don't have a resource. Thus far, I have spoken to the Alive Center, the Coalition for Positive Youth Development, District 20, Kenneth Young Center, the Bridge Hanover Township, and others, to begin with what we were all thinking about and how we can do this. And we're all agreeing that we need affordable mental health services within Hanover Park. In addition, Schaumburg Township is putting a referendum to form a 708 board, and I have asked them to come forward trustee from the board to come and speak to us at some point about this initiative, since it will affect those of us living in the Schaumburg Township area. I understand that Schaumburg is also creating a crisis unit, and it'll be answering the call to serve as an alternative to traditional law enforcement for crisis situation and other calls involving mental health issues and substance misuse. And this is something that I think Hanover Park may want to look at in the future. We stated that we will work on this via different avenues, and the research shows that it has to be multi-pronged effect in order to work. I bring this to the table. This is what I know. And so a behavioral health initiative backed up by our funding for these services in collaboration with our townships can be a start. But I do believe that this alone is not the answer. It's just a start. It has to be a multi-pronged answer. So I just wanted to say that and get that off my chest. CIDC. All right, we had our first meeting, and sadly, we didn't meet quorum, which I understand is something that happens often with us. I'm hoping that our next meeting, we can have enough bodies, so if you know of someone that wants to be part of CIDC, please join us. So on September 20th at 6:15 p.m. here at Village Hall on the second floor right here. If you're interested, please let us know. I'm also interested in finding out the original description of what the goal of the CIDC was when it was formed, and I don't know where to find it. So does anybody know where I can find the original description of when CIDC was formed? What was its goal?
I believe it's in the ordinance.
It's in an ordinance?
It's outlined in the ordinance.
Okay. So I'll look it up in the municipal, okay.
It started out as a mayor's initiative.
Okay.
Without a lot of paperwork to follow. That took a few years.
I want to see what it is, and I know Trustee Kemper and I have some ideas about some good stuff. So, Historical Committee, our next meeting, we're looking to hold it at one of the oldest buildings in town and probably the only one that hasn't been altered, the Executive House. I want to be clear that this piece of history is important, that the Historical Committee is really invested in ensuring that that property maintains its integrity. Our next meeting is on the same day as the business after hours on September 27th, which is 6 to 7. So I think it would be great if we were down there. And so, Mayor, I'm asking for your help to let us use that, get permission for us to use that space to hold our next meeting, Historical Committee meeting. Do I have your?
What is it?
It's September 27th.
I will not be in town.
But you can call before that.
It's a private building.
Oh, yeah, I can make
Yes.
a phone call
Okay.
to get in.
So Officer Pini will know about that. And then I wanted some information on historic buildings, so bear with me. Does the village have any say on what happens to privately owned historic buildings in the village?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Does the village have any say on what happens to privately owned historic buildings in the village?
What do you,
So we're looking into that, and Stephen and his team are always looking at the codes, and typically with the state codes as well as the accessibility code, all these things are applied differently based on how the buildings and structures are being used. So the question as to historic buildings would sometimes deal a little bit more in depth into who owns it, what's it being used for, is it open to the public, is it owned by government, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of depth to some specifics that have to be answered before there's a clear solution as to who's making the decision about the building. Typically, we're applying the building codes, but we also do identify the state code. The state has their codes on what can be used.
And so, okay, so this is probably more of a historic thing where I think if it's designated a historic landmark, then it has to stay true to the building, aesthetic, et cetera. So that's what I was asking, because so many of our buildings are altered.
Right. Again, it depends on how it's being used and who owns it, but also, again, how it's going to be used. So if it's used for such as, like an example that's been given to me, is it's going to stay in its own, the own function and the same type of construction and state that the building is in, and it can be used for a tour, and it can be safely done to the public, then that will be held historically true. But if it's unsafe structurally, or it's a danger to the public, then it can't be used for those things.
Okay. Do we know, is the village board informed before a historic building is sold, transferred, or anything like that?
So we have transfer stamp process. There's a list of buildings that are going to transfer. I believe that list is circulated amongst the departments that need to know. I think we try to scan it to see if there's any properties that are of concern. But we don't send that list to the village board.
We have very few historic buildings, and so I think that that's what we're trying to protect as much as possible in the historic committee. And so if those, especially in the downtown area, are transferred, sold, et cetera, we'd like to know.
Yeah, so we have not, we do not have any information that the executive house has transferred or been, is on the market.
Okay.
It's privately owned, and it has, you know, it has people, businesses leasing, at least one business leasing it, so.
So I got a question in regards to that. Now, I know there's municipalities out there that there are homes that are marked historic. I know years ago in Wilmette on a historic building where the people rehabbed the house, they had to keep all the original trims on the inside, outside of the house, doors. So a lot of stuff had to be specially made. They had to keep the integrity of the original house. So I don't know if something like that is, I think that's what Lisa is trying to get at. Is there a way to preserve the way the house looks by declaring it a historical?
So a couple things. One could be that we may be discussing a historic district, which I won't be able to really speak to, but I do know that what we look at is whether the home is on what's known as the historic register, which is with the state. So that's different. So if a municipality has its own historic district, as I understand it, they can have a specific set of circumstances. I'm not aware that we have that in our town, but there's a state historic register that has its own process for getting a structure on that register, which then affords it some protections.
Right.
So we had a survey study done of our historic buildings in towns a long time ago, and I believe the Historic Commission has that pamphlet, and it shows each of the structures and gives a description and
Yeah.
talks about the features of that building that are worth preserving and add to the character, the historic character of that building. The one you have mentioned is one of those structures. So that would be flagged if for some reason it came along that somebody wanted to alter that or it came up for sale, et cetera. But as the chief mentioned, there is a state process for putting a structure on a historic register.
Right, and we're looking at that. I was looking at that as well. I was just
And
curious.
whether the village could come along and do that or be a part of that process for a property that's privately owned, I don't know if that's even possible.
Right, okay. And then finally, last question, thank you for your patience with me. Who does the upkeep at the old Ontarioville Cemetery by the Presbyterian Church? Does anybody?
Say it again.
Who does the upkeep to the old Ontarioville Cemetery by the Presbyterian Church?
It's adjacent to the STP plant. A former employee that worked there, supervisor, used to go out and kind of take care of it as an entryway. I think since he's gone, it's kind of gone in disrepair.
We think it's the church that made it.
It's, okay,
You
yeah.
think it's the church?
Some of the landmarks there are important to our local history as well, so if it's a church, we'll talk to them. All right, that's it. Thank you guys for your patience with me.
There's a lot of history in this village that there was a lot of mean-spirited history going back to the 50s. And so the Ontarioville folks, after Hanover Park Incorporated, just hated anything to do with Hanover Park. And that's how we lost some firms. They just did not even talk to us. So have some of that history at home. I'm afraid to share it because I don't want to lose it. But we have some pretty colorful history going back. And it was, you know, it was interesting. So with that, who's next on the list? Thank you, Lisa. Trustee Porter.
Thank you. Met with Sister Cities Committee, and we are in the process of planning a trip to Ghana in 2023. We had put this off for 2.5 years because of COVID. We're looking at taking a group of individuals, not solely limited to committee members, but looking for community members and other interested persons who would want to join us. It's festival time in Ghana, which is a very fun time, and we're arranging to meet with local officials, government officials, community officials in Cape Coast, Ghana, and we are putting that trip together. We will be having a meeting in November. At our November meeting, where we'll be coming forth with details that will have pricing and travel information. And just want to put that out to anyone who may be listening. That is an open meeting, and we would invite anyone who wants to learn more about this trip that we're planning to Cape Coast, Ghana in 2023, in August of 2023, to please plan to attend our November meeting of the Sister Cities Committee. We'd love to be able to go and take some village officials. I'd love to have our mayor join us to meet with the officials there in Ghana. Sister Cities is built on the idea of citizen ambassadors. And the last time that I was there, the officials in Cape Coast were very interested in meeting with you, sir. So if we can put something together and have you join us on that trip, I think would be a great international step for our global village, for you to make that trip and to visit our country.
An international incident.
We'll keep you out of trouble.
Oh,
we'll keep you out of trouble.
I trust that'll happen.
Yeah.
Well, we do, since you brought that up, we do need to create our 501c3 so that sister cities can go out and solicit independently.
Yeah. And we will fund this. We're not looking for the village to fund this trip. We will, individuals will fund their own way and pay their expenses. So this will not add any type of financial burden on the village for this trip. And finally, I want to mention that the Alignment for Collaborative Education is going to be having Explore 2022 for October 5th and 6th. And what they do during Explore, it's going to be at the Now Arena on October 5th for the family showcase, and then followed by more than 2,700 eighth graders on October 6th. It is a very informational time, educational time, where we bring the students from U46 come out to this event, and they meet individuals from all different type of career paths to give them ideas of educational pathways that they might want to explore, as the name says. So that will be going on at the Now Arena. If anybody would like to, I think there's still time to volunteer, to participate, to maybe host a table or to talk to the youth about some of the career paths that are available. And what we want to do is to instill in the children's minds the possibilities of what they can achieve through the educational opportunities that are out there, and maybe some that aren't so traditional. So we have a lot of, some of the Hanover Park businesses have already signed up to be a part of this, and we want to commend those that are looking and have agreed to participate, but also want to open this invitation up to anyone who may be listening online or may come across this on YouTube. If you have a child that is in the, and even though they may not even be in the U46 system, I know they're bringing out basically, this is sponsored for U46, which has a wide service area in Hanover Park. So if you have a child that's within the U46 system, this will be a great event for your 7th or 8th grader to attend, to get some ideas about educational possibilities. Jim has already mentioned that I will be out of country for a couple of weeks starting next week. And you guys have successful meetings while I'm gone, and I look forward to returning with a lot of interesting stories to share and pictures. Yeah.
That's a great event that the collaborative is pulling together. On the 5th, they have that evening meeting, and it's the same time as our budget and capital meeting. So I can't make that, but the next day I'm available, so make sure I'm plugged into that.
Okay.
I think I told Nancy
October
would
6th,
be
right?
available.
And with that concludes my report.
Very good. Do we have closed session?
No.
No.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So, second.
I don't think I have any more meetings tonight, thank goodness.
Call roll.
Voice vote,
Whatever you want.
Christie?
You want the roll? Trustee, I gotta go back up to it. Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
And Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Excellent. Meeting adjourned at 8:38.
Thank you, everyone. Meeting's adjourned.